Good evening, fellow classmates. This is the blog to discuss best practices and our big takeaway from this course. When it comes to the concept of distance education, there have been many different ideas and concepts and theories that have been developed over the last 40 some plus years. To include Keegan's concept about the learner needs to be taught as an individual rather than in a group, to now where the educator has become more of a role of a facilitator in the learning process, where we are able to use technology and have our students basically learn anywhere and everywhere that they can. Distance education has become a form of two-way communication too, not just between the teacher and the students, but also students to students. By allowing this, that student and teacher or their peers don't necessarily have to be confined to that one specific location. So you have a separation of time or place. Instructors and educators, we are now using more mixed media courseware so we can help each of the students learn the concept a little bit better, and we have to try to basically develop the courseware to try to meet some of their learning styles that the students may have. In today's technology, there are also virtual reality or artificial reality environments in which students can conduct their labs, either in VR or AR, at a safer and also more cost-effective means of learning. Depending on the assignment that students has been working on, they can either work on it as an individual or as a group. One of the newer concepts that has been developed that I hadn't heard about was heutology, in which heutology is a form of self-determined learning in which a student centered emphasizes on the development of autonomy, capacity, and capability. For this, the goal is to teach lifelong learning in which will prepare the learner for the complexities of today's workplace. So basically, as an educator, we are trying to prepare our students to go back to the workforce environment and help their peers out. Overall, though, today's distance learning has to take into consideration four major concepts, which are regulation, the different learning systems, pedagogy, and access and costs. With the ever-changing dynamics and creation of new schools, which are producing more and more distance learning programs, there has to be some type of regulatory bodies that will oversee it to ensure that the correct process is being done, and also not to take advantage of the student and make it more of a profit-driven mean. The learning management system was a great tool, and it still is a great tool, but it hasn't adapted too much with modern times because it replicates the classroom experience, in which it is great to manage the students, but not the learning itself. So how can we, ensure that the student is not just clicking away versus actually learning the material? In the pedagogy of learning in the UK, which was an article that came out in 2015, they described three key concepts which should be considered whenever we are developing curriculums or teaching, and that is that we want to have the learners learn through storytelling, using threshold concepts, which this explores the concepts in new ways, or the bricolage, which basically discusses the idea by having the students either tinker or do hands-on building, almost like bricolage, like the Lego concept. The final concept which was discussed was the concept of access and cost. When it comes to access and cost, a lot of the higher education places, they need to try to maintain their structures, not just their structures, but they need to find a way to improve the quality of the learning experience, support their faculty, to include also research. This includes making accessibility to everyone a priority. Yes, whenever institutes is tied to adapt to new change, initially there's going to be a high investment that occurs to upgrade their infrastructure. But once they have developed a sound product, that initial investment will pay off in the long run, because the only thing that will be required would be slight upgrades, of the system. With the articles that I discovered, I agree with some of the concepts that were discussed regarding distance education. Not only do we need to keep up with technology, but we also need to try to make things accessible to everyone at a cost-effective manner, using as many resources available. If we can apply these concepts, your students are going to be able to learn at any time and anywhere that they can and will be. By giving this opportunity to students, they are not being confined to one set space, and they can do their work anywhere that they are able to. For the adult learner, the biggest thing to try to remember is that the adult learner has a need to learn. If we can make that learning relatable to something that they do, they may be able to grasp that concept a lot better. This means, one should look at either the keep it simple motto or also the what's in it for me. If we can answer these two basic questions and simple questions, as educators or curriculum developers, we should be able to meet our student needs. Thank you very much,